catching up on recent fecal microbiota transplantation research using AI and language processing. This is being published because I think it will be interesting for anyone who is following FMT. So in the second part, there will be some updates on what has happened in the research in the last 3 years. Also, it should be interesting for anyone who is playing around with AI or language processing. I am a beginner in this field, so I'm keeping it simple. Let's see how it goes. So the goal is to build an interface to query a specific data set. So I want to use exclusively recently published papers with the idea to get the most competent answers to our questions. So we're not taking the whole medical science, the whole data set of everything we know. We're just taking what has been published in the last 3 years. So it should be the most recent information, and this is a new therapeutic approach in medical science, so it should be the most up-to-date information on fecal microbiota transplantation. So the steps: first of all, we gathered the recent research papers, so 731 papers, which have been published throughout 21 and up to 23. And here you can see the source, just the search criteria. So there will be an algorithm here. We don't care too much about this at the moment. It's just an experiment, this whole thing. Then we're using a framework, which is called LangChain, that allows us to interact with the data. We're going to query this model, this database, to find out the utility of the whole framework, limits, usefulness, and so on. This is the model. So the model is based on LangChain. We have our 731 PDFs inside the folder. The text will be split to chunks. There will be some transformation and some involvement by AI, so LLM, to generate vectors and embed them. They will be stored in a DB, which I think is going to be Chrome, not Pinecone in our case. And there will be a query prompt to interact with the DB and test our model with this prompt. There is a possibility to have interpretation by a chat system, so GPT-3, GPT-4. I have removed this section because when I was testing it, I saw there are quite a lot of limitations by these chat models when it comes to medical information, incorporated information, so I removed that. So this is the code. The code actually comes from, the whole idea comes from TechLead, which is a YouTuber and software engineer. So this is a code that I have copy-pasted from his GitHub. Here, the repository. The only thing I changed really is I removed the section that enhances the answer with GPT-3 Turbo because it was causing issues. So the up-to-date code is here in this subsection here. This whole presentation is being published. So once we run this code, we'll have our DB. We'll try to competence test this information, this framework, with this question. So first some question to see if it actually is useful, if it stored the information, if not, if it's able to summarize, finding a sentence, reading a table, so on. And then questions about FMT. So this is going to be the section which is going to be interesting for anyone who is following the FMT research or FMT therapy topic in general. I've added here some links for the resources used. So TechLead, LangChain, VectorDB explained, FMT intro, and then some help if you need some help. So let's start. So first of all, let's have a look at the folder. It has the PDF, so you can see 731 items here. You can see that the titles here don't necessarily include the FMT, but these should all be papers that somehow have to do with FMT because they were returned by the search engine of Web of Science, so it's the FMT. So you can see, it's finding FMT in the paper, so it should all be relevant papers. Now let's start this whole this small script. So pi, and the file is called AI. So let's make this small. So some deprecation warnings, can ignore those. So now it's probably creating the vector DB, and what we're going to do is we're keeping this on the right side, and on the other side we're going to keep our question, so we can do copy paste to see if we can actually find test the system. So it's going to take some time. So yeah, I'm going to stop the pause the recording and continue when it's done, when the prompt appears. So we should have a prompt appearing here, because the code is creating the vectoring, the embedding vector index, and then we have, at this point, we have a prompt that should come up.